Hey guys, it is Tuesday, the 7th of May. We're here for another Power Hour. I've got a real mixed bag of people coming in today, and I'm so excited and so grateful for all of you being here today. I'm very, very excited to welcome Lee and Ian in today from 101 Education. I'm sure if you're in the hair industry, like most of you are, you know exactly who they are. And even more grateful that one of them is in the UK, in England, and one of them is in Ireland at the moment. So we're on very opposite time zones. So appreciate you guys jumping in so early in the morning and yeah, giving me your time today. I was having a bit of a giggle when one of you said you're going to go get a coffee, and I've got a one because it's 7 p.m. here. So nothing's too much planned for today, guys. We just wanted to kind of get in and have a little bit of a chat. I know that we get right up amongst each other's stuff on social media and everything, and we've been in talks for a long time. And I think we have a lot of really similar beliefs about business, life in the hair and beauty industry. And I think that you guys have got so much to offer. So welcome, Lee, welcome, Ian. And I'd love for you guys to just tell us a little bit about yourselves and introduce yourselves for those who don't know you.
Okay, Lee, do you want to
Who's
go
going
first?
first? Yeah, where do we start?
You guys finish each other's sentences too. That's cute.
We actually do. Sometimes we know what the other person's going to say, and that gets a bit weird.
It's the
Yeah,
dream
You know what's
team.
even weirder? What's even weirder than that is that we'll actually post things on social media and
Same things, unplanned.
they'll be the same thing
Mm,
unplanned. Yeah, pretty much.
I love
Or
it.
very similar on the
yeah,
same topic, you know?
Yeah. That's so
Yeah.
cute.
crazy.
Your work
Well,
husbands.
fun fact for you all to kick it off is that Lee and I are actually born on the same day. So that might have something to
That's
do with
even
it.
weirder.
That's
Yeah.
so weird. I love it so much.
Yeah, we have the same
Who
birthday. So
different year? Who's older? Neil Owen. That's the question. Who wants to have a guess? We won't get offended.
Who is older? Lee's
Me.
younger.
That
oh
older.
wow.
Oh,
Oh,
Yes.
you said you
Is
wouldn't
it
get
is it
offended.
Yes.
Offensive 5 minutes in.
Lee said that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
didn't
just
say
spoke for
anything
both
about
of us. Yeah.
No, I love
I'm
it.
I'm the I'm
Awesome.
I'm, I'm the fountain of youth over here. So anyway, I'm the younger one, Lee. Uh yeah, so where am I at? Originally a hairdresser, started in the UK. Yeah, I've been cutting hair a long time and moved to Australia to do it about 13 years ago. Started out in regional Victoria, as you'll be familiar with,
Where
Taylor.
did you move to?
Uh,
We're in Regional Vic.
so I worked in Colac.
Oh, did you?
Mm.
Hola.
well
Yeah.
done.
So yeah,
That's
you know all about that area. You know all
yeah, I
about
grew
that
up in
area.
Geelong, about an hour from here.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I remember your salons. Yeah.
yes.
So that was me. I got my visa there and did all that kind of stuff. Moved to Melbourne to work for a few more years. Done some really cool stuff in my career.
Like
And
lots of
yeah, now
amazing stuff. Let's not skip over that. Like fame team, like lots of awards, like all the things.
yeah, I brush over that because I think that was more driven by trauma than it was by anything
Mm.
beneficial. So we can discuss that in in another time.
Yep.
But yeah, that look, it did me a lot of favors as well.
Yep.
And
I feel that we all
yeah,
went through that phase in our earlier parts of our careers.
yeah. Look, there was a lot of perfectionism and self-worth tied up in trying to be the best hairdresser on
Overachieving.
the on yeah, a
Yeah.
chronic overachiever and trying to be the best on the planet that ever existed. And yeah, now I spend my time training and coaching other barbers and hairdressers to live a life that they love, that they can thrive in, and a life that they don't have to run away from.
Awesome. That's
So
awesome.
that yeah, that's where I'm at.
Perfect. And
Hmm.
what about your little work
Is
husband
it
there?
okay? It's my turn.
Take it
Is
away,
my
Your
turn.
Hubby.
much your much older work husband.
Yeah.
It's funny. I used to hate this, or sorry, I used to like not mind this part of it. You know, when you introduce yourself, but now I hate it. We like skip it. Everything we do, we skip it. But I do feel like it doesn't do us justice by skipping it all the time. Um, like Lee was saying, I think a lot of what we've done maybe has come from like a wounded place. and the fact that we can see it, it's like I don't really want to glorify that or share it. So like these days, what we tend to do when we're doing our education, when we're doing shows, and we're doing whatever it is we're doing, even our content online, it's less like look at me. It's more how can we be of service? How can we be of value? How can we help? And as a natural byproduct, we'll kind of get the look at me thing anyway if we do that well. So
People want to look up your credibility, I guess, and probably for a lot of those people when they do reach out to you, and I'm definitely the same in my business as well, they do want to kind of know a bit of your background of like, who is this person, you know? I get it.
yeah, totally. Yeah,
That street
totally,
cred's
100%.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But you know what we've come to notice, especially over the years, is that you know, a lot of the time when people interact with us, with our business, with education, humans are generally looking at things through the lens of what's in this for me, and like you know, the story is a nice thing to kind of have in the background, but it's not like the thing to be at the forefront of all of our messaging and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, I kind of shy away from telling the story. Like when we do, like I said, when we do it on shows and stuff, it's like, okay, and this is kind of what we've done. It's like one slide, it's got everything on the slide.
I do
like,
exactly the same thing. No
like
time
very
on me.
quickly.
We'll just skip past me and go to what I'm trying to teach now.
Yeah, but like we've done some really cool stuff, you know, we definitely have. And you know, there's a lot of lessons tied up within the cool stuff that we've done, you know, like, and that's what we help people with nowadays. But I think, you know, at the base, at the foundation of it all is like, it's just getting really good at the thing that we do, which is cutting hair. Or the thing that we used to do. We're pretty much retired now.
I was going to say, you're not really doing too much hair cutting anymore, guys. Come on.
No. So yeah, my story is a lot more condensed than Lee's. I've been doing hair probably half the time, even though I'm older than him. You know, I've been doing hair about half the time that he has.
So your career younger is what you're trying to say. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and I've achieved double of what he has done as well. So like...
Oh, please.
No, I haven't. That's just a joke. But yeah, I moved to Australia in 2016, end of 2016. I'd only been doing hair a year at the time. My mother has had a salon in Ireland she just retired this year actually, but she had a salon for almost 40 years. So I know the salon industry like really well. You know, I've always been around it. Like I'm her only son, so I've watched her, I guess, grow her business and be within her business her whole life. So I understand that. And that first year that I was in the hair industry, I was actually within a salon. So I get it. I get it from both sides. And so I've only ever worked in one salon. I've only ever worked in one barbershop. And that's kind of my claim to fame in a sense. But I've kind of touched on pretty much every aspect of the industry. You know, I've done the editorial stuff. I've worked with Dyson. I've done, you know, hair for some really big people around the world and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, like Lee was saying, now we want to just share that with people and help them to do the same.
I love that. It's funny that you say that you've only worked in one salon and one barbershop, because I've only worked in three salons and one barbershop and one other one. Like they were the ones that I owned. So I've only ever worked in one outside the ones that I've owned. So I love that you haven't jumped around too much and it's just been with those few people and then freelancing and doing your own thing. That's really cool.
Yeah, totally. You know, the first year that I did it, I jumped into, like I was self-employed within my mother's shop. So like I was obviously the one doing the men's hair. So I was running my own business like right from the start, essentially.
That's crazy.
And then when I went to the barbershop in Melbourne, I went to like the best one that I could find at the time. And that was like a way for me to like really expand my skill set. And I knew after a while, like I was becoming the big fish in the small pond, like where I'm from, because in Ireland, I'm from a town where there's like 6,000 people or something like that. So I was the only one really doing anything on social media when it came to putting my hair stuff out there. And it wasn't hard to really grow within that environment, but it's kind of like the whole thing. I was like, you know, you plant a seed in the, you know, for lack of a better word, wrong environment.
Yeah,
it won't like grow to reach its potential. There's always going to be a cap. So I just said, well, why not go to the most livable city in the world at the time and try it there, and just
I love
it's
that.
worked out. It has worked out.
I love that though. I think that like there's really something to dropping yourself in an environment that does make you uncomfortable. I think if you can do that, and I know for myself moving cities and stuff too, I mean, I didn't move countries like you guys did, but I think taking yourself out of your environment where you've always been, or you feel comfortable and going somewhere new, just encourages you to spread your wings and do something new. When I moved into state, I didn't know anyone, came on my own, just thought, fuck it, what's the worst thing that happens? If I don't like it, I'll just go back again. And it kind of like it's pushed me to do other things that I guess have pushed me out of my comfort zone as well. But I love that you went straight to Melbourne.
Yeah, yeah. There's a beauty to embracing like the discomfort in
Yep.
in life and in business. And what I'm noticing, even being back here now, is like I'm in Ireland at the moment. I'm in my home house, and it has been a little bit more challenging to do the work that I need to do whilst being here, because there's like a false sense of safety in a way, and it's like
Yeah.
we have this, like, I don't know what we call it. It's a kind of like a syndrome or something, but it's like a just enough syndrome, like we
Yeah.
noticed that a lot of people suffer from the just enough syndrome. They
Yep.
just enough to survive, just enough to get by, as long as things are like, I'm never going to be without a roof over my head. But then what comes with that is a lack of urgency, and like there's no sense of like urgency to like survive, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So when I was away in Melbourne, and Lee, I'm sure feels the same, but when we're on the other side of the world, it's like nobody's going to do it for us.
Yeah.
Here when I'm at home, I get my washing done. I don't really have to worry about food. Like I don't have to really. I'm not on high
So
alert.
why are you coming home?
But then I'm also
Yeah.
not on high alert for the things that actually matter to me, and the things that I want to use to move my life forward. So
Yeah.
yeah, that just enough trap is a scary one.
Well, they say that you should always take away the safety net, right? Because it makes you like go and get it. And I guess
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I guess like that goes perfectly into, I love your, what's the word for it? Like beliefs around charging your worth and actually setting the bar really high, and having the strength to kind of just go, well, this is what I'm charging, this is what I'm worth. Obviously bringing the client experience that goes along with that, and the haircutting service that goes along with that too. But what do you think's going so wrong in the industry now that people like, there's still people that are just so undercharging, and I believe as a whole it really brings the industry down, or it makes, there's so many facets to this, but there's so many people that still think hairdressers are only worth $20 haircuts and things like that. Like, where do you think we went wrong with that?
I don't know.
It's a big question.
Yeah, that's a loaded
It's broad.
question. I don't know if it's where we went wrong. I think a lot of people just haven't kept up with the thought process. So I'll take you back to my story. Essentially, yeah, I spent 7 years, I think, in Colac working in a salon, which one of your clients actually owns now.
Ria.
Ria. So
Ria worked
Ria
for me too. I fired her, the poor girl.
Yeah, so there's a link. There's a link.
I love that.
So she owns the salon that I got my residency for Australia in, and I became the most expensive hairdresser, if you will, in that town. I was charging $70 a haircut in Colac, and there were people that could not understand it. Like other hairdressers couldn't understand it. And still to this day, there is a hairdresser that thinks that that's the reason I left Colac, because I priced myself out of Colac. She was like, oh, yeah, there's a reason he's gone, because he was too expensive. Little does she know what I'm doing. But anyway, I've built, the reason I'm so passionate about price is because I tried and tested it in one of the smallest towns you could be in.
Yeah.
It's less than 10,000 people. When I got there, I think it was like $30. But this is the thing, though. In Australia, people make money. People make good money. Like there are rich people in the country. Those farmers have got some of them got a lot of money.
Yep.
So I think where we went a bit sideways was the belief system around money. Everybody's got their own money story, and I think we just haven't addressed that.
Yeah.
School system's not going to teach it to you, so there's no surprise that Gen Pop doesn't have a good relationship with money. You know, and again, there's this whole like work hard thing. You know, it's been like glamorized. It's like work hard because that makes
Culture.
you more deserved of money. And yeah, it goes like hundreds of years back. I would say it even goes thousands of years back, all the way to like, you know, the early Bible stuff. You know, there's a whole link towards like if you work hard, it get you closer to heaven kind of thing. It's like that's intertwined in everything we do, and I think it's like toxicated people into thinking if I work hard, I'm more deserved of my money.
Yeah.
But the trap there is I worked so hard for it that means it was hard to get. If it's hard to get, it's hard to let go of.
Yeah.
That's the trap. Instead of if your money story is, you know, because we've all heard money doesn't grow on trees, money's the root of all evil, all these stories that then add and compound on the back of work hard to get your money, then but if we change this, that becomes a story. If we change the story to money comes and flows easily to me and it comes back and as quick as it goes away,
Yeah.
then that would create a different mindset. I think that's where we went sideways. And if we look at Gen Pop, like general population, that is the story that most people are operating with, is the constricted version, not the expansive version.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a new story. Like Owen said, we came to Australia, like I wound up in a country town in the middle of nowhere, and I thought, no one's going to save me here. Like, I could disappear tomorrow and nobody will know. You know, I can't go home. I've got nowhere to fall back on. I was
Yeah.
down to my last $300 when I got to Colac, and I walked around the town with 20 resumes, and I just gave them to like every salon. Anyway, that's a story for another day, but I made it work, and I had to change my story. I
Yeah.
had to read the finance books. I had to talk to the people that knew more about money than I did. I had to.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I
Yeah.
made it work, and it is possible. And there's people in much more affluent cities and much more affluent situations that still don't believe it's possible.
Mm.
Mm.
And what's your opinion then? Like, it's interesting talking about that too, because when you were like, oh yeah, money doesn't grow on trees, and we do lots of work around money stories as well. And talk about triggering. My parents still have the same coffee table we had during the 90s. And I remember my parents sitting there counting out these wads of cash because they owned a motor mechanics and going, money doesn't grow on trees. And then everything you'd see laid out in front of you, it was like, that was the mortgage, that was the power, that was the this. And so for years, I had money stories around everything that comes in goes straight back out. You know, there was no saving. We lived week by week. We had secondhand carpet, like all of those things. So in turn, obviously our money stories all have positive angles as well, and for me it did make me a really hard worker, and it did make me drive to become better and to create a better life for myself. And what do you say to those now? I guess it's becoming pretty predominant now that there is a lot of people demanding really high wages, you know, in terms of being an employee. Also, people not really wanting to work that much, and there's so many people going out on their own, and it's kind of this double-edged sort of like, you know, so many amazing salons opening up and people going out and renting a chair and people going out and freelancing, which I think is amazing. But then it's also the contrast to that, people just aren't working as hard as what they used to. So I feel there's like two sides to that too. What's your opinion? What's your take on that? Of like work ethic changing in line with that?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Do you want to go, Owen? You want to take this one for a spin? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure Lee has a lot to say on this because he's an old head of the industry. You know, he's been around a lot longer than me. But
I love
but yeah, I'm still holding on to that one. I'm still holding on to that.
It's a source.
You know, slightly going back to the last question as well. I think, you know, the industry in total kind of has unconsciously created its own problem because there's such a low barrier to entry that the general population have an opinion on what this is that we do.
Yeah.
Like they think that people just become hairdressers because they can't do anything else. So like that's kind of the belief below the surface of it all. And like I just think there's too much focus put into like skill set and service and not enough focus put into marketing and brand. And like brand actually more than anything else. And that's where we start to tell our own story and reshape the stories and reshape the money stories, because money is only, you know, a representation of value. It's only like a representation of what people see as valuable, you know, and that's why I love the whole price conversation, because on the surface it's money, and people might think what they think about, say, the content we make around money, but below that surface is self-worth, is, you know, belief systems, and that's essentially why we love to speak on that topic. But second question, the one about can you say that one again? What was this? What was that one? It was about the
About work ethic changing.
work ethic changing. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. People are too comfortable. That's why, you know, there's not enough of a problem for them to work hard. And we're living in such a privileged world now, where again, the just enough syndrome is what's catching people. But because people are in pain, but they're also not at the same time. And it's like, it's just weird thing. And we're really experiencing that quite heavily over here at the moment.
You're right.
You know, like it seems that people are telling us that they don't have any money, but it doesn't look that way. You know, you go out to any shopping center.
Time, and then there's a new LSKD fitness shop open at the plaza that's next door to where I live, and their line was around the corner. I'm like, you're the people saying you can't afford your mortgages. You.
Yeah.
It's bad.
So it's like for example, I think people in the hair industry get that a lot from clients. You know, oh, the haircut's expensive. This is expensive. It's because they feel they can, because of how we've conditioned them, like culturally over the years as an industry. They feel they can say that to us because we will bend, we will fold. You don't go into any other shop and start demanding discounts or like telling them what's expensive, because it just doesn't happen that way. But people have a list of priorities when it comes to their distractions, and if it's going to take away from them having a couple of extra beers at the weekend, or buying some more drugs, or whatever it is that they do with their money, then that's a problem for them. So I think that's where the work ethic
huge culture problem here is the drinking culture and drug taking culture on the weekends, of going out and just putting it up your nose or doing whatever you do with it. And then it's like, you know, we go into that girl math mentality. It's like, cool, so you're paying for a hair service, it lasts you this long, it's this much per day, it's actually really cheap, and then you're going out and spending all this money on one night to be social or for whatever reason that you need to do it. And it's weird and backwards.
Yeah, I think the mix between longer term downstream thinking and short term impulsive thinking, the gap is too far apart, and the ability to be able to see like what's going to happen downstream based on the actions that they take today. Because a lot of the time people will say they can't afford something, and it's actually not true. What they're really saying is, I am not prioritizing this right now. I would prefer to spend my money on something else. And until we show them that it's valuable enough for them to spend that money on, then they're not going to change their behaviors. So for example, you know, we use like that kid Henry in Melbourne as a reference quite a lot, because he's charging the most that we know of for a haircut, for men's haircut right now. But that's brand. It's like a flex thing, you know, like the guys who go to him for a haircut, they just want to say that they have his haircut so that they probably are broke. It's not like they have money. You know what I mean? It's the same as the drugs and the drinking and stuff. It's like, I just want to have this haircut to say that I get my haircut from this guy, so that people will think I have money. It's all it's a weird thing, you know.
Well, that's what they say.
There's so many paradoxes.
Gucci and Louis and stuff like that don't market to rich people; they market to poor people, because they're marketing you to have that brand because it makes you look wealthy on what you actually are, supposedly.
Yeah. So I mean, look, going back to the work ethic question, I think, you know, I am yet to see somebody on the bones of their arse, like really, really trying to survive. Like, I look, for example, my mother's after retiring, and she's not making the money that she used to make. But like, there's so much shit around this house, like, that she could get rid of if she really needed money. You know what I mean? So like, are people's problems really problems, or are they just not looking for solutions? Because they're often everywhere around them, you know?
Yeah.
So something that we're sort of realizing over here as well is like, there's this term like life dysmorphia. Yeah, people get like, body dysmorphia and all these things, but I think there's such a thing as like life
I love
dysmorphia.
that.
Yeah, because like really it's confusing the hell out of me while I'm here. People saying, oh, you know, I only charge this, or people won't spend more and I want more this and that. But it's like, but your life doesn't reflect your complaints. You know, you're head to toe in the best gear, you've got the best shoes on, you've got a nice car, you're out drinking, you're doing this. It's like, so is it that bad, or do you just want more? Are you so used to your privileges that you now think it's shit?
Yeah.
Like that's where I think there's a bit of dysmorphia going on. Is because it can't be that bad because it's not bad enough for them to make a change.
Yep.
So I think there's an honesty problem as well. I think people just
I
need to
agree
get
with that for
honest
sure.
about what they want. What do you want? Do you want more? It's okay to want more. Like it's okay to admit that it's quite good right now, but I would prefer more. Like that's okay too.
Yeah.
Well, great, sign up. We'll help you get there. But I think they're disguising that as, oh, everything's shit and just getting grumpy at everybody.
Mm.
It's very confusing. It's a very confusing landscape.
It is. And I think it's like, I don't know, like, you know, I grew up through the 90s, obviously, like I'm sure a lot of people did here as well. But I don't know if it's like they're just exactly going back to your point there before, Owen, about the like long-term strategies. Like no one has to work for anything now. You don't have to go and pick up your takeaway. It gets dropped to you. You know, we run a retreat the other week and we ran out of texters of all things. So we literally like ordered on Officeworks. Half an hour later, it was on our doorstep. Like it's that like instant, like need it right now. I don't have to work for anything, want it right now. That instant like gratification, that instant dopamine, and it's toxic. It's bad.
It can be, and I think you know, looking at the landscape of the industry now, like you were saying earlier about, you know, people demanding high wages. There's a lot of self-employed people. You know, there's a lot of people who, again, low barrier to entry. You know, kids will start out in barbering and they start cutting hair for their friends at home, and they're taking cash, and then you know, they keep wanting to do that until, you know, they meet the love of their life. They want to have a house, they want to have a family, and then they realize that they fucked up 10 years ago, and now they can't do any of that stuff. So it's again like the ability to be able to see downstream and like design a life that actually works in the future, not just because something's a good idea now. It's like it's very impulsive.
Very impulsive, yeah.
Very impulsive. And you know, I was there. I've definitely been there buying the Prada stuff, buying all of the stuff that I thought would make me
Same girl.
look successful.
I had
But,
a phase too many years ago.
yeah,
I think it really reveals as well, like the overall condition of humans, like the general kind of collective wound of humans. Like people will blame stuff like Amazon, you can get everything the next day. They'll blame that as if it's like shaping us, but I don't think it is. I think what it's doing is it's revealing our deeper condition.
Yeah.
Like as if we were fine, we wouldn't fall for it. If we were okay, we would be okay, you know, and it's revealing our condition. So I'm not sure if any of this is going to change unless we actually do some deep healing work at a collective level. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to your question or your comments before too, I think it was both of you that sort of mentioned, you know, there's no one here that's doing it tough. Like there's no one here that's really, really below the poverty line. And I agree with that. I don't see it as much either, especially when you go somewhere like the US or somewhere else where there is that kind of right in front of your face, or Bali that we were talking about earlier. But you know, for a lot of people, their money's not a math problem, it's a psychological problem. It's for everyone, really. You know, you can
and it's like watch what's going out, like more so than what's coming in. You know, there's always places that we can tighten things up on. And you know, like looking at the wages thing, like I don't blame people for wanting more, and and I think that's ultimately that what that reveals to me is a lot of people are uncomfortable with putting their prices up because, you know, the salons, then if the staff are demanding more, if people are demanding more as an employee, it's kind of like the responsibility then of the business, in a sense, to facilitate for that, whilst working with them in order for them to provide as much value as possible too. You know, I think there's definitely, you know, there's cases where there's a lot of audacity around, like people thinking that they're worth more than the value that they're bringing, but like we're all, you know, we can only get paid in accordance to the value that we bring to the business. Like if you can't
Yeah.
get paid for money that doesn't exist. So,
Yeah.
you know, if everything around us is rising, we've been saying this for a long time since Hair Festival, when we first did when we did the Wonder of Why, I think it was 2021, I think it was. We're saying, guys, the water's rising all around us, and like if we don't keep up with it, like if your business isn't growing, it's dying essentially. You know, if your business isn't putting your prices up by 10% every year at minimum, you're going backwards. You're losing money, and I think over here there's been a stall on this side of the world. I think Australia. I'm really really grateful for Australia at the moment because everything is flying over there. Right? Listen to this one for a bit of a stat, just a cross comparison, right? I think over here there's been a bit of a psychological stall for years, like when it comes to like the raising of the prices in line with the economy. And we went to Nando's a couple of times since we've been here. Love the Nando's in the UK is great, by the way. But we went to Nando's, Lee and I, a couple of times in Manchester a few weeks ago. We got standard meals, you know, pretty standard. Like you get your wrap or whatever, the two sides that come with it, and the refillable drink. And the two meals for Lee and I it equated to 93 Australian dollars. So
did you die
in Australia? So that was about 47 British, like Great British pounds, right? But the point is like in Australia, that meal probably would have been about 47 Australian dollars.
Correct. Yeah, I know. I get
so
on a Tuesday night because my husband works late.
So it's probably, you know, that probably would have cost us maybe 25 Australian dollars each, right? So like that's the big difference. And people are charging like less for haircuts here. You know, you can get some of the best haircuts in the world from some of the best barbers in the world, speaking to the barbering side of the industry, for pennies, for less than a Nando's. So it's like, you know, it doesn't make any sense to me. That's where the logic goes out the window, and people are thinking way too emotionally, and that comes ultimately back to like a self story, you know, of what they really believe their worth is, or what they are being told or manipulated by their clients into believing what their worth is. So so that's a big issue. And like, you know, going back to the point, if the business isn't growing, it's dying. It's the same. It's the same in Australia. It's just we're in a healthier position than what the UK and Ireland is right now.
Yeah.
You know, so like when we say like that people don't necessarily have the problems, of course, everyone's got their own problems in their individual lives based on the decisions that they've made and how they spend their money.
Yeah.
But it can always be modified. I feel like in Australia, nothing's ever a problem and everything's very, very easy. Coming from here and coming to Australia, I'm like, I say it to people all the time, like if you can't make it work in Australia, you'll never make it work anywhere. Like it's not hard to really do well. And like all you got to do is 10% more than anybody else, and you're already like
flying ahead.
You're flying, you know.
Yeah.
Same here in the UK and Ireland. Like we say that we've met some of the guys over here who are doing it well. Like, and when I say doing it well, I'm like, fucking hell, your Nando's is still more expensive than your haircut, but
I love that analogy though. It's good. Paints a picture, doesn't it?
I'm going to turn it into a post for sure, because there needs to be some perspective.
I think it's funny too. Like I've got you know, a couple of really good friends. One of them lives in LA, which is like one of the most expensive states of America to live in. His girlfriend got pregnant. It was $107,000 for her to have an emergency cesarean. Like, just, you know, you come to a place like this, essentially everything's free. You need a new heart, you need anything over here, like it's fine. You know, you go in and it's, you know, it's paid for in your taxes and it's easy and it's done. We get superannuation, we get all these other things that all these other countries don't get. It does really put it into perspective when you go and see that, you know, in front of you, through people you know, or through going to visit places. And we definitely don't have it too bad. It's a good country.
No, and I think you know, we need to definitely express a level of gratitude for that. I'm so grateful for Australia right now. Every day I'm thinking about Australia. Like we're dreaming of being back, because it's giving us a bit of life dysmorphia actually being here. Really? It almost feels like what we're doing isn't working in a sense, you know, because we can't get like it's harder to get the message across based on the environment that we're in.
One of the traps over here is that they've never let go of the like people focus so much on the skill set over here. Like I hear it in Australia all the time. People are like, oh, why are British hairdressers better than Australian hairdressers? Now that's debatable, right? But a lot of great talent does live in London, but I think they've glamorized it. I think it's an industrial model of like just get really, really good, and then you can charge more than everybody else. Well, it doesn't work like that anymore.
No.
Like when does that day come? Over here, it's like get really, really good to like no end. Like nobody knows where the bar is. Like where is it? Like how good do I need to get? You know, and I think that's why everybody's stuck at the £20 haircut mark, is because that's what they're basing their pricing model off, which just doesn't really work very effectively.
Yeah.
And over here, like hierarchical education systems and everything's based on like work hard and get good, and that's their like pricing model.
Yeah.
Which but in the digital age that doesn't work, because now we've introduced free marketing for everybody. It's called social media. So a kid with half, we say this to people in our coaching group all the time. There's someone with half of your skill set making twice the money you are.
Oh, 100%. Half the wealthy
And
people
people
I
will
know
get
didn't finish school. I didn't finish school. They don't have any
exactly,
degrees, anything behind them. They just went and got it, you know?
and people get their back up about that. Oh, but they're not as good as me. Yeah, but you're forgetting that they're better than you at marketing.
Yeah.
So if we're going to play that game, it's like let's just level the skills. We need to get good at multiple skills, not just one thing. Yes, the haircutting, getting good at the haircutting is the product that we deliver, but there's so much more to it because we're in a different time and a different world now. So that's what we're seeing over here.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, there's almost like
and
a
Australia,
false sense or a false reading of like, if I get better at cutting hair, I'll naturally make more money from it without doing anything else. And it's like
Yeah, there's a
that's
process there.
not really the case.
it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense, yeah, because there's only so much you can do. So
What do
And
you
then if the
think?
clients aren't brought on that journey, say if the clients don't know any different, then who fucking care? Like who cares? Like
Yeah.
if you're better, the
Yeah.
clients don't know.
And what do you think contributed? Like you said, there's a bit of a stunt, like, kind of like stunted over there. Like, what do you think really contributed to that? Was there a time that happened? Was there something that happened there? Or you just think it's kind of been this gradual thing over time that's eventually kind of come to a screeching halt with growth over in the UK?
I think it's cultural.
Yeah.
I think there's again, I think what we're seeing now reveals the deeper condition of the collective. So bad money stories, a hierarchical education system.
Yep.
Like the hierarchical system over here is huge, right? Like there's the corporate world, the education system, the uni system. It's all so like people are putting themselves in hierarchy positions.
Yeah, right.
And like even in my hometown here, like it's about the size of Geelong. So you'd think it would be like a bit of a broader mindset, but it's not. It's like people think that being a small business owner and entrepreneur is reserved for a certain type of person.
Yeah,
Like I
right.
don't speak to any, nobody has got the drive or the courage to take that leap of faith. Why? Because money's hard to come by, it's hard to get. I work so hard for it that it's hard to let go of. Security, 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 security.
Mm.
And it's just drilled into people. And you will only be seen as worthy if you get to this hierarchical level.
So how do we
There's all of
change
that.
that in the generations that are coming up?
I think we don't change it, we influence it. So we just have we need leaders. We need leaders. We're lacking people that want to take responsibility for their own growth, which is understandable because that's a closed system. If you've got a bad money story and a trauma pattern, very hard to break it because it's scary to break it. Again, the ego it's fictitious by design, right? It wants to keep you alive, but it will fall to its comforts. But it will do what it knows it's familiar with, which will be your comforts. But even if your comforts are killing you, so there's a dangerous pattern we've got going on here that it's hard to break out of. And again, environment's everything. If you don't have people around you that are doing that, you may never do it. So I think it takes leaders. And that's why the internet's such a special place, because we get exposure to groups like this and people like yourself and us. And
I agree.
I think it's a slow burn. I think it's a slow burn of people wanting to take the leap and lead. And again, leading is showing by design. I think that I fall into that trap sometimes, and I say, how are we going to change these people? Well, if I get stuck in my convictions that I have to change people, I could again create my own dangerous loop. So I think it's influence. We have to lead and influence.
Yeah.
And I think slowly we show people what's possible, and the world is energetic, so that might leech onto them, and then they ask. You know, because the force of change is very forceful.
Yeah.
And that can create conflict, and then depending on people's, again, deeper condition, we might not get anywhere. So I think it takes great leaders to influence. I really do.
Yeah.
And we
And
just have
I
to strap in.
Yeah, for
the
sure.
long,
And like
you know?
I liked your comment there too, just about surrounding yourself with the right people, like choosing your network well, choosing what you consume. Especially, social media is such a beautiful place, but it's also bloody ugly if you're in the wrong area too. So yeah, I really liked that you're just like, yeah, like surround yourself with the right people and it's brought us together. So I love that. But yeah. Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Charles?
No, I just yeah. So do you think it's super important to try and just create that environment for staff, like for salon owners to be creating that for staff? Because I find that staff are demanding the money, but they also don't like to charge people what they're worth. So they want to get paid X amount, but then they will discount things, or they will, undercharge so they don't offend someone. So how do you bridge that gap between going, well, you think you're worth being paid this, but you're not showing it?
there's that is such a multi-layered scenario, and
Mhm.
I'll go to high end with it. The
Sure.
answer is yes. The answer is yes. We need to create that environment because they haven't been shown any different. So as the business owner, I think we need to assume the position of leadership and show them the reality, because else it's us versus them.
Mhm.
We cannot expect an employee to think like a business owner,
Mm.
because the educational system sets those two people up differently with different beliefs. So I think immediately the business owner in this modern day,
Yeah.
it's a great idea to assume the position of a leader. Now, why would an employee think the way they do? Well, there's conditioning pattern, there's money story, there's their own self-worth. One of the big things that I've been talking to a lot of people about lately is we've reduced ourselves to a dollar value. Like people, there's this quote like, "Oh, I want to charge my worth." Okay, well, what's your worth? I think it's our birthright to be valuable, right? I think if we could just flatten that one and be like, we're all valuable equally. It's our birthright. We were born here. God put us here and said, "You're all valuable." And I think that's the danger. People are like, when you let your self-worth get involved, depending on your limiting beliefs, that will affect how you charge,
Yeah.
because your money story is tied into it. Instead of, because that's very heart driven, right? So we've got the scale of like heart and head. We've got very heart driven, which is emotion, head, which is logic.
Yeah.
We need to balance on the scale. If we're heart driven, that's unreliable. Whose emotions here are reliable? Nobody's. We're human. We're flawed by design, right? But whose head is also reliable? Well, if we're too logical, we could be ignoring things, and we could do ourselves a disservice. So when they both come together, I think it's the most powerful. People say, "Oh, I want to be charged my worth." Well, that's very emotional. When we bring the business logic to it, we can go, but there's a system and a formula here that we also need to play to. And that takes leadership. An employee is not going to understand that.
No.
I think it takes a great leader to show.
They won't understand that until they do, right? Like, I think
you always want to go backwards,
reflect.
don't you? Start as the owner and go backwards into employee, maybe get it from a different perspective, hey?
Yeah.
I just reflect upon my experiences, like, and I don't think there was enough transparency in like how the business ran for me, like for a long time, until I started asking the questions. And I think, if business owners were to get on the same page with all of their team and show them this is how the business actually runs, this is nothing to do with worth or self-worth, sorry. It's to do with making the numbers work. Like nobody gets into business to not be profitable.
Yeah.
That's like the goal of business. Otherwise, it's not a charity. We hear that word community being thrown around a lot as well in our world, and it's like, well, it's not about like just being everyone's best friend. It's like you got to live too, and yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a dissonance in that question as well, Charlie, because there's a bit of a dissonance in there because, say, for example, if somebody wants to be paid more, but yet they're discounting people, it's like it's revealing to me that there's some other stuff to work on, and then it's up to the leader to like be able to help them through that, and it's kind of like I would say it's almost like having kids, it's to like get to know what they're like and how to approach certain situations and lead them, and play the roles when you need to play the roles and really help them to understand what it is that's going on for them and their experiences, because an overexpression in one area is like an underexpression somewhere else. If they're overly expressing I want to be paid my worth, but then what are they underexpressing? The actual, when it comes to the time to charge the worth, it doesn't happen, or they fold, or they bend, or they feel like they're going to offend somebody. But what's that revealing? It's revealing a belief system. It's revealing a pattern that they have, or an underlying belief that they don't feel like they can.
Yeah.
So it's up to us then to empower them, right? Like, our kind of whole thing now is like, we want to change limiting beliefs. We want to empower people. We want to get people to stand firm in like, and it's not even like we're asking that much. It's just, it's normal.
And what's your, go, you go.
Sorry. I was going to say, if there's any like business owners out there, thinking, okay, that's scary to lean into like the leadership thing. One of my coaches shared with me, one of the best things to do for anybody that's struggling is to not become one of them. So, and because I see this a lot with business owners, they'll meet their staff with the same energy that they're getting from their staff. So if a staff member is being demanding, the owner will meet them with demanding, I want to be paid this. Well, you're not doing this. Well, I want this. Well, and it becomes like
they just mirror each other. It just goes back
around.
Spirals,
exactly right. So a great leader will look at the scenario and go, well, the best thing I can do right now is not become that and use dogmatic behavior, right? And then we can bring conscious choice in it. Do I want to meet this with love, or do I want to meet this with hate? If I meet it with love, I meet it with compassion and gratitude and understanding and warmth, and be like, okay, this person just is confused and doesn't understand. So a great leader will show the way.
Yeah.
A person who is still working out of their own victimhood and their own conditioning pattern will meet it with the same behavior, and we'll just have a war. Well, what's war? Hate and negativity. So again, conscious choice comes in. Do I want to meet this with love, or do I want to meet this with hate?
Yeah.
That's why I said it's such a layered scenario, because it depends on the depth of like, your own discovery that you've gone on to how well that's going to go.
Yeah. So are you saying like being a leader, you have to kind of know and be both the head and the heart and work out the middle ground there?
100%. And the thing that makes that balance the best is awareness. So being aware of what the heart's telling you and being aware of what the head needs to do to make that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge.
Unreal. I just going back to your comment there about transparency as well. Obviously, I'm a coach too. Like, I'm just an open book about everything as well. But what's your thoughts on being completely transparent with your staff, if you do have staff in your business, about your costings and about things like that, and about how the business runs? Do you feel that that's proactive? Do you feel that helps?
I would say, what would be the reason for people not to be? That's almost more worrying.
Yeah.
Like, because if there's a reason not to be, then it's like, well, why is there a reason?
Yeah.
What I'm starting to realize is that, maybe there's a lot of people doing dodgy shit, and like that's what we've actually brought that up to our coaching group yesterday. Yeah. And like, why is there a reason not to be transparent? And I think if you are fully transparent, being a business owner isn't all that it's cracked up to be either. Sometimes people are in better positions as employees, as the second in charge, as the person. Like, depending on what they want for their lives, being a business owner isn't always the thing, because there's also a fundamental difference between being a business owner and being an entrepreneur. Like, people throw that word around a lot. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, no, you're not. Like, you're just a business owner. Like, you run a business. Like,
I'm a serial
there's
entrepreneur. Are you?
there's difference. There's a difference, and I mean, like, sometimes, like, people will have a better life for the way that they want to live being an employee,
Yeah.
because it removes the risk. People don't have a high risk tolerance, or they're not able for that roller coaster. Then, it's probably not the best thing to do. So I think that's why the transparency, in my opinion, helps a lot. Like, when I started to really, like, when I was, so I went into business with a guy who was my boss, and it was only when I went into business with him that I started to see the transparency of what it really was. And I was like, and sorry for all the barbershop owners out there, but I was like, I wouldn't want to have a barbershop myself personally.
Yeah.
Based on what you're telling me. Like, this doesn't seem worth it for me personally.
Yeah.
So that was a game changer. And if that was the case, say, for example, if I wasn't who I am, I would have just stayed being an employee. And we have, even one of the guys is in the call here, he's got a guy who's his kind of like right-hand man, who's making probably more money than him, or like making really good money. So it's like, it's not all about just being a business owner. And I think that can actually be taken up wrong sometimes, because people think you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes and this and that. It's like, but I think if you can never be found out for just being yourself, and like, if you're a business owner, it's like, why would you not be transparent with these people on all fronts? In my opinion, like, for example, right, and this reveals the condition too. We went out for dinner the other night with my girlfriend and a couple of her friends, and afterwards she was just questioning me, like, so what did her boyfriend ask you? Like, what did he, was he asking you? Was he asking this? Was he asking that? And anyway, I told him how much, like, he was asking me questions about like how much we charge people and this and that, and he started doing his own numbers, and he figured out basically how much we earn in our business. And even my girlfriend was kind of a bit like, oh, feeling weird about that. And I'm just like, why would you feel weird about that? They're just numbers on a screen. Like, they don't mean anything about me. Like, or like, it's, why are we afraid of numbers? So like, if that's the case, it's like, why are we afraid to like break it down for our team and show them how the thing works?
Yeah.
Because when they know how it works, they might be like, oh, okay, well, they might deselect and go do their own thing, which saves you the headache in the future. Or they might just be loyal and stick around and say, fuck, I'm not going to get this level of transparency anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then once they can see it, you can't unsee it. Once you can see it, you can't unsee it anywhere else. It's like, oh, fuck, no.
100%. I think it's funny too, like, even when we were talking about, childhood and how we were raised and where some of these money stories stem from. I know that money was a bit of a dirty word in our family, even though they were teaching us to count and talking about how to pay bills and trying to teach us to live below our means and everything. Like, you did grow up kind of not talking about it because you just didn't talk about it. And then that kind of carries over as well. And I definitely know I left the place where I was a basin assistant. I ended up owning that salon, and then I left to do my apprenticeship elsewhere, and they wouldn't discuss anything with us at all, like nothing. We were just there to be a number. We were told what we had to make. It was like, churn them in, churn them out. And I think it did make you feel really yuck about it. So I think when I owned salons, much like you guys as well, I was like, oh, you guys can know whatever. I don't really care. Like, here it is.
Yeah.
It's not all that glamorous.
Yeah. And I see that. I think the two things that come to my mind is, like, if there's a fear around the money side of it, people just don't want to like tell what they're earning. Well, that comes to fear, because it's the fear of people knowing. Or why would you be afraid of people knowing? Maybe you think if someone knows you're making X amount, they might want to take it away from you. Again, that's fear, because money's hard to get, so it's hard to let go of. And it doesn't, the assumption is, a lot of people have the assumption that money just doesn't come back. Like, once it's gone, it doesn't come back.
Yeah, it's energy. It's going to be
it flows, right? It flows. And that's, I think that's the unlock right there. And if we just come back to leadership, like Simon Sinek says it great, that the least you can do is leave your people a little more employable than when you found them.
Yeah.
Is that not the aim? Like, I want, again, do I want to treat this with love, or with, hey, do I want expansion or contraction? Like, do I want to contract them and keep them where they are? I don't want to help them expand for the future. I know what I'd
Abundance
rather
and
do.
scarcity. It's like
Abundance and
that
scarcity,
whole
exactly.
thing. What if I train my team and they leave? It's like, yeah, but what if you train them and they stay? And
What
it's
if you
like,
don't
how
train them and
long?
they stay?
What
Yeah.
are our expectations as well? It's not like we're trying to, like, how we, in my opinion, if I was to own a barbershop, how I would treat my team would reveal all of my beliefs around everything.
Yeah.
It would be like, okay, well, why would I not want them to grow?
Yeah.
Oh, but in case they leave. Yeah, but what if we have 3 great years together?
Completely.
And
Completely.
then that one person can change your entire business.
Yeah.
That one person will bring more people to the business because of the brand growing
I
with
think there's
them in it. So it's like, yeah,
something
it's
really
weird.
beautiful about being there for that like growth part of their career, and then they go off and they fly and they do their own thing. Like I love that. We learned that was one of our strengths, is like training these incredible hairdressers to then go and be a freelancer, go and do whatever they wanted to do, go and open their own salons. And it was actually, I was in agreement with you. I'm like, if you give me 3 years, go for it. I'm good.
Yeah,
Things
exactly,
nice.
exactly. And it's almost like there's a element of like laziness in it. It's like, I just want to get my people and get them to do the work that I don't want to do so that I can
Mm.
do no work.
Mm.
Like, and it's like, no, but you got to keep marketing. You got to keep looking for team. It's like there's certain things that have to keep happening in order for this to work long term.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's just some of our opinions, by the way.
No,
All
I
of
love
this
it.
is just
I
our
love the
observations and
opinions. We're here for
opinions.
the opinions. I got a question here from Thornton. What about owning a barbershop was not worth it to you for all of us? What would have changed that?
Lee,
I loved
you want to
owning a
take that one? Or?
barbershop. I loved it. I never
Yeah,
worked on the
so
floor of my barbershop. It was a good, beautiful 4 years. Yeah, let you guys go. You guys talk. Go.
yeah, for us it was just a margins thing. The amount of effort it took to keep it all going compared to the margins just didn't make sense.
Mm.
Again, we're all about opportunity cost and looking at is this how I can use my time the best, and for the amount of effort going into keeping the thing going compared to the margin just didn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And maybe that was just a timing thing. We looked at that model when we were already in the digital age.
Yeah.
And online businesses and we were around people that had massive profit margins.
Mm.
We're like, why would we do that when we could do this? And there were a lot of things that, for me, it was different. I was at a different end of my career when we started looking at all this stuff. So maybe I would have looked at it different if I was early in my career. But I thought, I don't see what this would bring me that would be better or more than what I could do other ways. I think the pros just didn't outweigh the cons,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And because, yeah, again, I think it just comes down to like opportunity cost and
Yep.
the margins just didn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think for me, opening my barbershop came. So I'd owned my salon for 7 years when I opened my barbershop, and we did that because we had barbers in our salon and we needed the space for the salon chairs, and we decided to open a new space. And I think for me, like honestly, my barbershop was probably one of my favorite projects. And I think the difference between owning a salon that did coloring and other work, just the cost of goods in a salon is so high compared to a barbershop. Like for me, it was really profitable. The thing that for me was managing creative barbers who liked to go out and get shit faced on the weekend, not show up to work the next day, and that sort of thing. And I think with that too, I lived interstate when I owned my barbershop, so it was hard to manage, especially through a pandemic when everything was closed down. But I actually really liked owning a barbershop. I think you have to be priced right, and I think you have to be conscious of timing. I know that, we had a couple of people that liked to just kind of fluff all day, and we really kind of had to nip that in the butt. But actually owning a barbershop was really great for me. I really, really enjoyed that time. And my mum was a barber back in the 80s and 90s, and she was one of the people who encouraged me not to do it, to not go into the hairdressing industry, to not own salons. And I'm glad I went against it, because I think many lessons learned, lots of beautiful times as well. And there's definitely pros and cons to everything. But I agree with you, when I went into my education and went into coaching, and that just really took off for me. It was kind of one of those safety net things of, I'm done with the salon, I'm done with the barbershop. Financially, they're feeding me, so get rid of them, and I've got to really make the coaching stuff work, and it paid off. So that was kind of probably my opinion on that, Dalton. So yeah.
Yeah. My take on it would be, opportunity cost has been something we've spoken about a lot lately, Lee and I. And opportunity cost only exists when there are other opportunities. So it doesn't exist if all you have is like your haircutting skill set and that's how you make your money right now.
Yep.
And we've got clients, some of them are in the call here, and they've got barbershops and they're doing great and they love it. And it's what works for them. And it's quite profitable because they've started to look at it and make it profitable.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know, maybe in a different timeline of events, things would have been a bit different. But for me, I tried my hand at a lot of different things. I did the education stuff. I've worked with the brands. I've done all of that stuff. But then at a certain point, when the opportunity cost of not doing the education and coaching versus the time investment into the barbershop, when one starts to outweigh the other, then it becomes a bit of a challenging scenario to be in. So like now, I feel like the most value that we can bring to not only ourselves but to the entire industry is to help people with their barbershops rather than owning one myself. That actually spreads the bandwidth a lot further, because it's almost like like the same thing as being potted as a plant, right? Like it's like the same thing as like going from 6,500 in my hometown to, I don't know what Melbourne was at the time, 6.5 million, let's just say, right? Like, and the levels of impact that one can have based on their own, I guess, self story. So like my self story is that I can change the fucking world. So I mean, owning a barbershop's not going to do that for me, and it might for some people, but it's not for me. So like that's where it just has to be individual. It's not like there's no right and wrong answer. It's what you use it for as well, and what your expectations are with it, because a lot of the time it can be a great vehicle for you to live a fantastic life. You can get a house up, like if you run it well, you can use it to invest in other things. You can really set your life up great as having the barbershop as a foundation. But it just depends if you're expecting to make millions of dollars from it, like every year, it's going to be a different project than just a barbershop. I'd add an S to the end of it and a franchise before it.
Yeah.
And there's ways to do it, but like, is it worth the money that you make? And that's one of the things that breaks my fucking heart. I'm going to put it out there, is like seeing people in business that just are operating with such small margins and like not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
It's like you're in business to make money, and people have money, and like even just people putting their prices up by $5 across the board for the whole year can change an entire business, or just cutting out the mates rates. Like little things can just make such a massive difference when it comes to actually, making money. And it's not that I think that another underlying belief behind it all as well is that we're taking money from people rather than those people are investing in our business so that we can continue to deliver a better service. It's another reframe, like I think, I can't put my prices up by $5 because I'm taking that money from people, but they're willingly spending that on other shit that's not good for them. So, and it's the same buying decision, whether you're spending $50 or $60 or $70. People think in chunks. We're not thinking about $5, really, in the grand scheme of things. So
absolutely. What's one reframe you would want the world to remember if it was your last day? The good questions here.
Thor's in our coaching group. He's good at questions.
I love. It's so good.
You can imagine where our coaching calls go when Thor's on.
Into another dimension, and I love that. That's great.
Oh yeah.
We're doing different things in our world. It's interesting.
Fucking amazing.
One reframe that I'd want the world to remember is your last day. Fucking hell, big question.
Put him on the spot.
perception is reality.
Oh, that's a goodie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna I was gonna say it in a different way.
Well, you're the
It's
same
rarely what you
people, obviously.
it's
So
just it's not I would say to some it's not what you think. Like it's rarely what you think it is, you know. You suffer more in your head than you do in reality. Like
that's
realize
true.
realize
Yeah.
everything's a story. Everything's a story that you inherited. You could just start there, you know, because you can't really choose your beliefs. If you can just start there, that opens up the plane of curiosity. Stay curious.
Mm.
Because if you lose your curiosity, which has happened over here,
Mm.
that's it. So it's over. It's over for you.
Yeah.
That's the very essence of human life. It's like we're created by design. At a cellular level, we're created by design. At any given moment, two cells meeting are always looking for new opportunity. Always.
Yeah.
It's happening right now. Like even in the air in the room, it's happening right now. But yeah, it can only do that by with being curious. If it just thought it was exactly how it needed to be, it would never happen. So I think to lose our curiosity, to believe the inherited conditioning, is to undermine what it means to be a human. And I'd just start there. Stay curious.
It's
And everything is rarely what it seems. You know, most things are rare.
I'm gonna send you a photo. There's graffiti outside of my apartment. Like when you walk, I live in the city up here, and it's Yoda, and it says, what a curious mind a child has. We have to unlearn everything that we have learned. And like every time I walk past it, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I'm gonna send you a photo of it when I get out of here, because it's
Brilliant.
yeah, every time I walk past, I'm like, yeah, and it's exactly what you were saying about that, like just staying curious and always going for the next thing and always asking lots of questions and doing all the things and just yeah.
Because to think we know is so audacious, you know. To think we know is to think we know what God knows, and nobody knows that. So, you know, stay curious, keep trying new things. You know.
Yeah. I'd say,
you know, and the reason that my metric is how effective is it? You know, how effective is what we are doing right now? You know, I don't, you know, I heard this from a therapist, but he was like, you know, my job here isn't to judge. My job here is to discern what's effective. Is it effective? Well, more people complain than, well, what I hear of more people are unhappy than they are joyful. So
that's true.
Can't be that effective then, can it? You know, that's my metric. I'm not making this up. They're just facts. Like you know, it's not my opinion. It's just what the world is showing me. So you're judging off that one. I think we need a bit more curiosity to keep asking better questions of like, what really is it? You know?
Yeah.
Follow our joy.
And yeah, and to add to that one as well, Thor, it would be like, instead of what more can we learn, it's like, what more can we unlearn, or like what can we continue to unlearn?
Yeah, for sure. And that goes back to all those money stories and undoing everything that was kind of built into us, right? It goes generations and generations and generations back. It's a cycle. It's led by so many different things. So I love that. Is there any final questions, guys? We've been cracking this one out for over an hour now. I love this. Is there any final questions from you either, Charles?
No, I think taken on everything. I think you guys have explained everything really well, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. I'm really grateful for the work you guys are doing. I love following you. I love watching everything. I'm going to keep my eye out for when you guys do twin posts now, because you're the same person and it's great.
Yeah. And I mean, look, if you enjoyed the conversation, if you enjoyed the kind of general vibes, we have a podcast. I'm wearing it on my hat here.
Yes.
It's called Unlimited with Lee and Owen.
Yep.
And you can listen to us more on there. We speak about a number of different topics and all of the stuff we spoke about just now, but some of it goes a bit deeper, some of it is a little bit lighter. We get guests on, all sorts. So if you're interested in hearing more, that's where to do it. And if you want some mind-bending Instagram content, maybe follow us on Instagram as well.
Here for it. Here for the good accents too.
You
probably sound so Aussie to your family. I love the girl who bought my salon, I sponsored to come over from the UK as well, and she was very northern. So what is she? She says she's very Scouse sort of thing. But now to me she still sounds super British, but to her family she sounds super Australian. And I'm sure you guys are the same, but maybe you become a little bit stronger in your accents when you go home.
Yeah, definitely. Mine has had to neutralize over the years. I've lived away from home for a long time, so
Yeah.
yeah, I've had to neutralize it so
Yeah.
that I can be understood.
Especially when you get a couple of drinkies into you just can't understand a
Oh
word.
yeah, yeah.
No,
My family are very hard to understand on the best of days. So.
No, that's amazing. My nana was French Canadian, so she was really strong accent. My granddad was Irish as well. So yeah, I just remember him having a few whiskeys and stuff in my younger days. I'm like, what the fuck are you No. I really greatly appreciate you guys being here tonight. I'm really, really thankful. And it's been really awesome just to sit and have a conversation about just what the industry is doing, what real life is going on at the moment. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you everybody else for joining in and listening in. And I hope you got heaps out of it. Make sure you give the guys a follow. I'm going to tag them after this. So yeah, thank you again, my friends.
No worries. No worries. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Take care, huh?
If anyone wants to go any deeper on any of the topics that were covered
Get in
on
touch.
this evening's program, just get in touch.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you have an amazing night. Thank you again, Lee and Owen.
All right. Thank you.
Take
See you
care.
guys.
ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Stay up, counting all the way up, counting blessings, yeah, you know we pray up.